it is to be noted that even when bad news come from Turkey, and there are many from a European perspective, things that are disappointing or are not entirely understandable to a European audience, even when that was happening, Turkey never backtracked on its commitment to become a member of the European Union. I think that's very significant and has been reaffirmed also in our conversation today by Faruk Bey. And with all the debate about Turkey changing axis, debates that I was also involved in, this hasn't happened. Of course, there have been decisions by Turkey, of course, using its national sovereignty that were seen as problematic by Washington, by Brussels. But I think the commitment to the European Union and to European integration is there. Turkey has been diversifying its international portfolio, but that's because the world has changed. And I think all of our countries, including European Union countries, are navigating a different international environments with many more actors, and different interests have to be balanced out. I was in Turkey just days ago, and the speed of their vaccination campaign, for instance, is quite impressive compared to some of our European Union countries. And that's mainly because of Turkey's access to vaccines that are not currently available to European Union citizens. So, of course, you want to be able to leverage different relationships in the more multipolar world we are living in. I think we need to move to a more mature relationship between the two parties, which doesn't mean, accepting a level of cynicism, but it's just a more realistic relationship that is not transactional. And I like the references of previous speakers to the fact that this relationship cannot be just transactional. It has to be strategic, because, as was pointed out by the EU representative, it's an indispensable relationship. It's bound by geography and much more, history, human connections. On the plane back from Turkey to Austria, the number of Austrian Turkish families, German Turkish families who are fully integrated in their countries in the EU is just, the reality in front of you, beyond all the things we may be saying in think tank or policy circles. And this relationship has to be based on interests, in my view, above all, but a broad definition of interests. And for the EU, it's very important that democracy, that the development of Turkey in a pluralistic, liberal direction, that's part of the definition of the European interest. It's not an addition to it, it's not an accessory to it. It's integral part of what the EU conceives as its own security interest, having a democratic neighbor. And at the same time, European countries have to understand that Turkey is much more than the current government of Turkey, and that at the same time, controversial positions of the current leadership of Turkey are sometimes shared by many more Turks than those who vote for the AKP. I just take two issues: the attempted and failed coup that many of us in Europe looked at with a lot of skepticism, especially the repression that followed it, especially the focus on the Gulen movement. Well, that type of interpretation of what happened has much more following in Turkey than any European observer would believe at first. To take a second issue, the gas Eastern Mediterranean issue, we may not like how Turkey has been behaving on that, and there have been acts that were clearly and rightfully criticized by Greece and others. But I think a different government in Turkey would have not had an entirely different position on access to strategic resources in the Eastern Mediterranean. We cannot possibly think that a country that is so central to the region will be excluded by the majority of the resources of the region. On other issues, I think there are alignments that we're only now understanding. Take the issue of Libya, which was mentioned before. Turkey took some controversial stance on Libya. He engaged militarily in the country, but now there are prospects for cooperation in supporting the new government. And I think, other analysts have already pointed out that the chance that now Libya has for a sort of restart is as much due to the diplomatic process, the Berlin conference, and all the efforts that have been put towards re-energizing the government of national accord, as also to the intervention of Turkey and what was done militarily, however controversial it is. Without what Turkey did to kind of contain the other perspective represented by General Haftar, we would not be talking right now about re-energizing the Libyan political process. So I think there are lots of opportunities, not only problems. I think a positive agenda by definition doesn't mean we're gonna agree on everything, or that we need to agree on everything before we can proceed. I think positive agenda precisely means focusing on what unites more than focusing on what divides. I think there will remain a lot of divisions, but there is a chance, in my view, to move this relationship forward. And I stop here. Thank you.